those 2 years, that for some, I used to have a lot of fun. All my friends used to be like, I used to be roaming with them the whole day. And then finally, when I was the one who was got a position in the state, they were like, hey, they looked at me like this. I was like, you used to, oh, I was actually going to ye kaise hua?
Exactly, astonished. Like, tu?
Like, Boka, you know, that face was like, you know, तूने अपना बड़ा धोखा दिया, ये कैसे हो रहा है आभा और हाथी को.
Right. Hello to the wonderful viewers, noble viewers over the internet. Today we have with us the very lovely Aabha Hanjura after a really long time. You know, we have been talking on mail and WhatsApp and everything. So this is our first one-to-one conversations. So don't think we're chatting for a year and then we are coming in. No. She's very busy in her work. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. It's an honor having you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is literally all mine. If I want to shoot questions at you, curious questions as a musician, which I had when I started and still I have, it's not clear. Maybe how did Aabha Hanjura started her journey as a musician? Or like, were you born into a family of music? Everybody worshipped music, like they worship gods? Or how was the atmosphere you grew up in?
Sure. No, I'm not a generational musician. I wish I was sometimes. Because, you know, what really happens with that is that, you know, you're born into music and, you know, there is so much, if you really have the talent, it gets spotted and it gets really honed well. And that's a very big advantage to be born into. I was not. But yes, my mom used to sing. She was a trained classical singer, but a hobby musician. Not really she didn't pursue a career in music, so per se. But she learned from one of the best in Kashmir, you know, Pandit Shambhunath Sopuri, and she spotted that I had a voice. You know, when I was about, I think, I forget the age, but I was young. I was a small kid, and she realized that I was singing in my sleep one day, and she was like, you know, Papi, my daughter also sings. She was my first guru. She started training me on some music herself. And I think the foundation of that was all 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, old Lata Mangeshkar, Asha Bhosle songs. You know, those, I think that's like gold mine hai music ki, wo jo sare gaane hai na.
Yes.
Because जिन्होंने वो गाने बनाए हैं, जिन्होंने वो गाने गाए हैं, जो सारी टीम है, वो जो सारा एक organic process था Hindi film music when it really began. First of all, they were all रियाजी people, जिनको सबको music अच्छे से आता था. तो वो हिंदुस्तानी क्लासिकल का एक फॉर्म निकाल के फिर उसको फिल्म म्यूजिक में डाल के उसमें अलग अलग टाइप के म्यूजिक बनाते थे. So that was really it was a good foundation. Also test that, you know, if you can do that, then you can do anything. क्योंकि लता जी के गाने गाना कोई आसान बात नहीं है. इतनी मतलब उनकी गायकी इतनी refined थी. तो, you know, that was a good foundation to start with, to test, you know, there is really some talent or not. And I did that for a while, and then she eventually put me into Hindustani classical training, which I did for a while as a child. And उसके बाद मतलब talent था, but at the same time, I never thought that, you know, I will pursue a career in music and become like a professional musician eventually. It's just that I remember enjoying that process of learning Hindustani classical music in the very first beginning when I started, because it was, as a child, I was so, first time जब भी आप कुछ सीखते हो ना, तो वो बहुत ही important time होता है, because it's like first time you learn something new, that enthusiasm you have as a child, you'll never have it again. At least it's hard to keep it.
Exactly.
So that first time, you know, like I was like in this whole beautiful world of Hindustani classical music, and I used to always want to sit in older benches. I was a kid, and, you know, all the other people used to come to the class where some were in college, some were like really, really much older than me. So I used to tell my Guruji that I want to sit in that other Didi wala class also. Just
Didi
before I'll
wala
sit for
class.
extra half an hour. वो जो senior batch की girls they used to be singing more advanced ragas and I used to just like to sit there कि मेरे को भी सुनना है. And I used to walk to class and walk back home. It used to be like, you know, that thing. And, you know, while walking back, I used to be
That time you
practicing
get, yeah.
सरगम तान, मतलब चलते चलते वापस वो practice करती थी. And मतलब
Wow.
it used to be that thing that, you know, me time and by that
Like
I really
zoned
think that
in.
was a glory. वो जो एक अच्छा टाइम था. फिर माय बाबूजी गुरुजी डाइड, यू नो, समहाउ वो छूट गया. और जब वो छूटा तो वो फिर मेरा ध्यान इधर उधर बढ़ गया इन अदर थिंग्स. एंड यू नो, in my school I used to be one of those, you know, kids who used to always be pushed in for competitions. And you know, this girl will sing, she will be this one. And for some reason I didn't have a very so the training in school was not even at par of what it should have been for you know, what I was doing outside for a while. Then I was like, you know, if it's not at this standard, then I lost interest. I used to be like, नहीं मुझे मत घुसाओ इसमें. You know, I want to do other things. I want to play. I want to have fun with my friends. I want to do this. So I was this, you know, kid who they used to chase कि तुम जाओ please हमारे competition में, तुम you be the part of the thing. You know, that's how at least you have a chance of winning some medal, something. So I think this was like that. चलता रहा था संगीत, music था, I was passionate. I remember some of my teachers, early teachers have told me that I used to stand up and say I want to be a singer in class when they used to ask what do you want to be? You know, some people say pilot, some people say something. So I used to say singer. But I don't know, I think there were some family circumstances, you know, we didn't have a very, you know, stable things at home. Childhood was very shaky. I eventually just, you know, was into that mode that, okay, music is there, but it's not something that I want to, you know, like maybe pursue, etc., etc. But my brother really, you know, was insistent on what he thought and saw as some sort of a X factor in me or some kind of talent, that he said that I should audition for season 2 of Indian Idol too. And we had just come to Bangalore, and I was you know, I was in college, and you know, it was a big thing from coming from a small town like Jammu. I was raised in Jammu. I was I'm from Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, my family had to flee Kashmir during the exodus. So when I was in Jammu, from a small town, you never imagine that you will go to this television, into the television screen that you have been watching in your
admiring all the time, yeah.
Admiring Abhijit Sawant winning Indian Idol, and you know, like being, oh my god, kitna bada kuch aaya hai India mein. You never, I mean, I was in I used to go to the bathroom and, you know, like dance and sing, and I used to listen to Viva and dance and love that, you know, that somebody's doing pop stars. But it was there, but I was kind of downing that ambition in some way. My brother is like, no, you will go for Indian Idol auditions. And I was like, no. Why will they take me? You know, what do I have to do to go? You know, if there are sare log, and they show you also, right? Millions of people in line and all of that. I didn't see myself doing that. But then, you know, he was like, he wouldn't have it. And then finally, my principal from my college also said that if you're going to go for this, you forget about coming back. And that kind of triggered something. Then I was like, now I have to do it. So then I went, and I auditioned in Lucknow, and you know, one thing led to the other. Before I knew it, I was in the finals of season 2 of Indian Idol, one of the finalists, finally few in the end. Yeah, that was a validation of talent, I guess, and I think it really was something that I realized that, okay, there's something here, you know, that I have to, like, kind of, and also fame happened at a very young age, 16, 17.
Wow.
You know, people, it was such a big stage, so people are recognizing you on the roads, and you know, you suddenly a big thing in your college, and you know, it's also great. It's also a lot of pressure. It's also fame like that, you know, which comes very fast, also goes away very fast. You know, unless a seasonal things. I knew that that's not going to sustain, you know, my career and all of that. Eventually, I did some small work, you know, while in college with after Indian Idol and the music, but then I realized that, you know, like that Bombay playback and all that was not my scene. And so my आवाज़ें ही इतनी limited ही थी, जो मतलब the writers used to use, and you know, they were very fixed on यही करना है हमको.
No
Also, it
experimenting
was more of
and
a
anything.
yeah, it was also not a very safe space for women at that. I've spoken about it multiple times in my own way that uh, that time for me, like I was like, no, my parents are victims of the exodus. They have somehow they have made sure that they have ensured that I can enter a college. I had secured was a final a position in my 12th standard board. I was sixth in the state or something. So it was there was a lot of pressure on me academic.
Why
I
are
had
people so
taken
good in studies?
no, I was not. I was terrible until 11th and 12th. Something happened. I was just suddenly very good in studies in that time. And also because I took it as a thing that, okay, now to some masti wasti khatam, to college jana hai. I wanted to get out of
पढ़ाई
Jammu. I would do that.
करो.
I knew that this is not my life. The small town is not my life. That I knew.
Oh, oh.
But I also knew that to get there, I have to secure a good seat in DU or like a good this one. How will that happen? So those 2 years that for some I used to have a lot of fun. All my friends used to be like I used to be roaming with them the whole day, and then finally when I was the one who was got a position in the state, they were like, hey, they looked at me like this. I was like, used to हमारे साथ भी घूमती थी ये कैसे हुआ
Exactly, astonished. Like तू
like धोखा that face was like तूने हमें बड़ा धोखा दिया ये कैसे हो रहा है आभा हमारे साथ ही घूम But yeah, I used to go home study at night. Something happened in the 11th and 12th. I used to be very like, मुझे करना है, मुझे have to get out of Jammu, I have to get a good college, I have to get out of this and that. So I finally did, and then I eventually came to Bangalore. My brother was also studying, and with Idol, I realized that it was a huge milestone in my life. Like it was big success, big failure, both together, right? You get so much success, and then when you finally get out of the show, then it's also failure that's so hard for a 17-year-old to make sense of, because you're like, my life was going so great. I was on Bombay, people were like recognizing me on the road, and sab chal raha tha. I was on TV for so long, and suddenly I'm not there. Kya ho gaya? So I didn't take that so well. I also at the time, which I think is natural for a 17-year-old, but maybe I should have handled it differently. But I guess everything is meant to be. I finished my studies. I was like, no, I'll finish my college. I'll definitely. I can't. My parents have worked so hard. I can't, just let all of that go.
What did you like pursue in college back then?
Yeah, I used to. I used to do so many things in college. I used to do everything apart from being in class. And
Wow.
I used to also do modeling. I had side gigs as a model. I used to do side gigs in music. I used to do here and there and everything.
Wow.
So it was fun. But then
Aabha
eventually,
was rich at 17.
No, not really. I was just getting by. My pocket money was coming from modeling gigs and all of that. Then I realized modeling is definitely also not for me because it used to look so glam that I realized what a tough job it is.
Wow.
And then I was like, not for me. I got a really good internship at a financial firm, and that would have set me for life. But I knew that that's not what I want to do, and I instead chose media. And then I said, I'll start a career in media. So from all of that Indian Idol fame and this and that, and I went into the local newspaper as the smallest PR executive. I started my career from there, because I was like, no, I'm going to make something of myself.
Hey.
And eventually grew very fast. And by the time I was 25, 26, I was already heading, a big news network's South, division. I grew very fast. I was doing very well in my media career. I was pretty set. I had a solid corporate career. But then, I knew that this is not what my calling is, as much as I was, really trying to look away from the fact that music was always there. But in those years when I was doing a corporate career, in the middle of it, by 2013, I was like, no, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. That I know. And then it was just by chance that, kind of music stumbled back into my life. I did a small gig at a very small club, completely by chance in Bangalore. And I think I owe it to Bangalore, to the fact that I'm an indie musician today, because Bangalore's just got such a rich, amazing music scene. It's got talented artists, collaborators, music producers. I was so lucky to find the greatest band. I was lucky to find artists I could really look up to, musicians I could really see. And when I was in that club, when I did that gig, a small gig, I was just featuring as an guest artist on with another band. For 5 minutes, the whole club went silent when I was singing on stage. And I could just feel that moment, something changed. That was the moment that I knew that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because
So
it was a
people were
captive audience.
respecting that thing. No talking, no
They
phone
were just
scrolling.
listening to
Nobody
me.
knew what to do,
Yeah,
We had a
it
serious
wasn't. It
gig and
wasn't.
half of the people are drunk, lying here and there. I'm like,
It wasn't that. This was a gig where people were sitting and they were like listening, holding on to every note. My life changed on the 25th December, so Christmas night. I remember I was like, this is it. I kind of found myself. I was like, it's okay. It doesn't matter. This is a small club. It's a small this one. The fact is that there are people who are listening. There is an audience who wants to listen to what an artist has to say. If an artist would really go ahead and say it, that really gave me a lot of purpose, I would say. And it made the decision to say that, what, this corporate career is not for me. I kind of chose music eventually. I think music chose me in a way, because as
wow.
much as I kind of every time I have gotten away from it, it's come kind of said, no, this is what God's put you on earth for. This, everybody has a purpose. So yeah, that's how it began, and that's how it all happened. Long story.
No, love it. I love it. That's so inspiring. What did you study in college back then? In
I
regards to
studied
media?
I studied commerce. I did BCom. I did too many things. I did BCom. I did some very random course and insurance for some reason. My parents, like I'm telling you, right? I'm a Kashmiri Pandit. So education is a big thing in us. Like, it's like a thing that, that actually is a thing that's made us survive also. So
Exactly.
what is really important in our community, back on our feet. But my dad was very keen I do an MBA. So I told him, MBA, forget, I'm not doing 100%. So then, in college, I did 3 degrees in those 3 years. I did something in insurance, I did associateship in insurance, I did something, and then I used to just get by. I was like, okay, it's just exams, right. Yeah, my college was also it was such that it offered students who wanted to do more to do in those 3 years. Yeah, I could do that.
I love it.
Nothing happened to that insurance. Just sitting inside nicely in the.
No, when you will go to take a car and health insurance, you will probably know, oh, ye kya fraud hai, ye
I
kaisa
would
hai.
not know. Today, if you ask me, I don't know nothing. Zero. Whatever doesn't matter to me, it just like goes in this brain and just comes out very easily. It's just like only things that matter are retained to you.
So that's where this quote comes true. Like, music chose you,
Music chose me. I didn't choose
Music chose you. Yeah. I love it. Love it. In this journey, like, you've played in venues, you have been recognized a lot, you've been traveling, gigging, collaborating and playing for other artists. If someone says, for example, oh, I don't like what you've created, or this sucks, or this is bad, how do you deal with criticism as an artist?
Initially, I used to deal with it very badly. But over time, I've learned to only take feedback from people from where I know that it matters. And that feedback I take very seriously. So it's very important that, we keep this feedback process very secret for ourselves as artists, because art is so subjective, right? What may be amazing for you may just not work for someone else. It's just the way art is. But at the same time, if I have to take seriously every person's opinion on my art, I will never be able to make what I really want to make. So there are a few people who I know, okay, this person knows music, this person has so much experience. this person possibly has an idea of how an audience versus a person, like this, is this person just an audience lay ear? There is somebody जिसका एक lay ear होता है, lay ear, normal इंसान कान, you know, कुछ ज़्यादा कुछ उनको ज्ञान नहीं होता है, but उनके कान normal होते हैं, मतलब, है ना? तो कुछ वैसे लोग, and then some who really know what they're talking about when they're listening to music. That is the amount of, that is that few people with whose opinion on like my music, critical opinion on music, I will take seriously. But initially, everything used to bother me, like good or bad. People would say good things also, I would think, haha. And then people would say bad things also, I would be like, oh my God, now what can I change? This is a natural process of evolution for every musician, right? Because by then it takes everyone so many years to come to a point where they themselves get very sure of who they are as artists. This is like I have made, and it's okay, like at a certain point of time, something will be the best that you can do, and then tomorrow something will be the best. If you ask me, I don't know, my best hasn't happened yet. Will happen soon, but I don't know. So it is subjective thing, right? So but trolling, and you know, which is also something that I faced a lot, good and bad. That is something that I'm learning now to sort of deal with slowly and surely, kind of trying to grow a slighter, thicker skin, and sometimes I use other techniques. Sometimes, because somehow I've realized that sometimes when a piece of content, for example, for me, will suddenly blow up on social media, right? Today we're living in this time where everybody's a keyboard warrior, right? They're sitting behind an anonymous screen and they can say anything. And most of the time I've realized that it does not have to do with the music. It has to do with you, the person. So for me, as a woman who's putting herself out there on stage, and as a Kashmiri woman, and as someone who is singing a certain thing, I know that it'll come with its it's not just for me. I'm sure it's that for every other girl or any other female artist or any other artist, for example, who decide to put themselves out there, they'll always have people say things back at them. But for me, there are also the other prejudices that come into play. And I went through a lot of that in different ways, in different stages of my career, while I've been playing live for so many years on stage. So I know, because I can see people on stage and I know what the energy of an audience is, and why does someone then come online and say something good or bad. I've been lucky to have gotten a lot of love, so I think that balances out the negative, but negative comes, and when it comes, I think whenever you're climbing up, is something someone told me. As soon as somebody told me, never read comments. This is after my first video went viral.
Yeah, even I've got this advice. Mat pado.
I said, how can I do that? It's like, no, good will get to your head and bad will also. Somebody, as you're going to grow bigger and as you're going to get bigger, somebody will make it their life's mission to spoil Aabha Hanjura's day to day. And it'll make them very happy for some reason, because they don't have they have other problems in their life and they're projecting that on you. Nobody, I would never, ever, ever in my whole life ever say anything negative to anybody online. I just can't. I don't have that bone in my body. I will only say something good if I see something bad, if it affects me also, I just move past it. I definitely don't go and sit and write something negative to someone.
I have to prove
I'm
something.
not that person. But there are so many people who do that, and that's because they do it because it's their own personal, their own life is not going well, and they want to find a way to
exactly. Because I was about to say that. Yeah.
So criticism, you need to take it well from people who you trust. Very important. You should be able to trust. But at the same time, you don't have to some kind of faith in your own self also. Like, I guess, believe in your own art and don't overthink the criticism.
Or maybe just accepted that, okay, it's a part of the process. You can't avoid it.
Yeah, because I think, we're all work in progress. There are times when someone has given me a very good criticism and I've taken it and I've worked on it and it has really worked for me. So I would always say be open to it, because it's so important in our journey as an artist. Like, we definitely don't know it all. At least I don't. I don't know anybody who knows it all. You are always learning, yeah. So
yeah. Lovely. I love it. In your performing, or I would start from this. Like, for example, when did you like sit and think that, okay, I've done this, what the world sees as, education and degree and this and that and working and job, and what am I good at and what people accolade me for, that is music. So how did that shift happen? Like, can you like clear the picture for me specifically? You sat with a pen
I
and
don't.
paper and thought about it, like
No,
I
I
have
don't.
to.
It started that gig in when I was performing for a very intimate audience after a very long gap, and I basically went back on stage after a long gap of I don't know how many years, after Idol and that whole this thing. I really found myself back on stage. It was like, this is me. This is what I was meant to do. This is what I was meant to be. It was very, very clear to me that, and today also, like performing is what makes me the happiest. I love recording also, but I think I am, I was born to be on the stage. It was something that I just really feel like that's who I am. That was a moment, and then the second part of it came that, okay, what is it that I want to do? And then, I found my purpose when I was seeking it. For a long time, I actually did a balancing act of, doing both this and that. And I was really killing myself. I was going crazy. I was working in the mornings and, doing music in the evening, like nights. I used to rehearse till, like, used to have a small garage rehearsal thing, pad, did some small gigs. I started off my music career while I was still having a corporate career. For a while, I did the balance. And it was just getting physically impossible to, do this. And also, things took off with God's grace. So I was like, no, I mean, I have to like really now get off this one ship and move on. But more than that, I was trying to find my purpose, and that really came from the valley, from Kashmir. I went back to Srinagar on a trip, just a chance trip with my father. He used to be coaching there. And I went and, discovered so much about my own land in that one trip. It was filled with a lot of pain, happiness, everything, like so many emotional emotions. I, in fact, had revisited our home, which we used to have be in eventually, which became the inspiration of my latest single, Mere Makan,
Mere
which
Makan,
I've
yeah.
written. It's so the idea of Sound of Kashmir came from there. I was like, this is what I will be most passionate about, and I am most passionate about. Grew up with the sound of the rabab and all of these songs, and I was like, I want to really bring them back and add a lot of myself into it. So in SOK app, Sound of Kashmir, I've done a lot of recomposition also on songs, whether it was Khanmach Kaur, which I completely rewrote. Not the lyrics, but the composition.
Mm.
Hukus Bukus, we kind of really brought it into a whole new avatar for people, and that rendition has really now kind of become the Kashmir song that people go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it all came from that place of, I want to do something, I want to create music of my land. And because when people think folk, they only think Rajasthani folk, or they think Punjabi folk. Indian folk is
Kashmiri
just
folk
kind of,
was not a go-to term.
yeah, it was Indian folk has just become stereotyped, and it has become stereotyped to a point where it's only one certain visual and sonic identity that has been kind of plastered on it. And
Marketed well.
I really thought that there's so much to change on that. So I guess I had some work cut out for me, and I really, really enjoyed it. So my entire first album, I kind of dedicated it to Kashmir because that became my muse in my career. Of course, I sing in multiple languages. I also write in Hindi, English, Urdu, Punjabi. I sing a lot of Punjabi folk pop music also because I grew up in Jammu, so I have a huge Punjabi influence. Dogri also. But Kashmir became the muse, and it's really who I am. So it really naturally flows also. So yeah.
Love it. How did you think about, you'll be making money out of music precisely? How did you go
Uh,
about thinking that kind of a thing?
yeah, I think me and I guess most of the world, like has most artists in the world, live music is the number one uh, way of artists to have their largest chunk of revenue or money or income coming from. And with God's grace, I think I found my identity on stage. I found my niche on stage with Sufistication, my band that I everything started from Sufistication, which is the band, which is really where I first started out as a live performer, and I kind of established myself in the circuit as a live performer first before I even started recording albums and stuff. Uh, because I've always believed that I'm meant to be on stage, and I really, really am able to. I am one of those performers who can hold the stage for like a 90-minute, 2 hour concert, and really entertain live. And it is and as a live performer you will grow more if you are good live. That is how I think, at least I believe, that that's what it is. That is also one of the factors. But nowadays there are too many things that people are able to do and still do work. So um I think that is that really became that still is my number one source of income and money. I knew that I will be since I do Sufi folk fusion music, also original music, I was able to, my act lent itself to all kinds of formats. So we played college festivals, we've played public gigs, we played festivals like Jaipur Lit Fest, we've played the NMACC, Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center. We've played gigs across the even internationally, Thailand. We are able to play at private events, we are able to play at public events, clubs, everything. But I
Corporate
started at
events as well. Yeah.
yeah, I started it from the ground, like literally. I've played a gig
Scratch.
for literally 3 people in venue in Bangalore. And this is my beginnings. My beginnings were very humble. And I'm so like, I think clubs are where I've kind of learned how to perform. It's so important. People don't realize that, um, those are the environments in which, you really, really hone yourself as an artist. So, and I've never carried any baggage on myself of who I am and who I was, like, etc. I was very happy to start. Like I told you, after Idol, I was happy to start from scratch. After corporate, I was happy to start from scratch. I always have carried that humility to be able to go and, be grateful for the stage and, be able to deliver on stage. I was heartbroken when there was just 3 people in the ground, and we had done so, we put in so much work on that day. And this was the beginnings. But then, I told myself that I'm still going to go on stage and play like 1,000 people here, because the 3 people who've come, 4 people who've come, they've come. So we have to make it happen for them. And those are the things that have really made me the performer that I am today. From those 3, 4 to like then playing to 300 and 3,000. I've also played to 10,000, 12,000 and more today. But it's a journey, man. And it's like, and it's also never one kind of journey, never stays in one route. You can never say that this is what it is now. It's dynamic. It'll suddenly change. It'll suddenly come up and suddenly go down. It's just the way it is. So, yeah, I guess live performance is one of those things where I kind of found my footing after some while. And now also, touch wood, that's the one thing that kind of keeps me going, apart from the other avenues, that happened. Since I'm also a composer, I also write lyrics. There are different avenues for artists of today, make money. Streaming, but I mean, that's nothing. That's still,
That's a joke.
I would never put a lot of, this thing on it, but it's there for whatever it is. It is there. So that.
Perfect. What does a normal day in Aabha's life look like now?
Nowadays, really started to bring back a lot of focus on going back to the basics. Yeah. So I'm just literally, grueling a lot on Riyaz. I'm kind of tuning back into myself, because I think after 10 years or so of doing this, a decade later, I want to be able to reanalyze a lot of things about myself as a songwriter. I spend a lot of time now, a lot more than I used to before on writing than I used to before. I really, because I feel like there's so much more music that I have, so much more different kinds of music that I want to do. This is something that I've always never really put myself in the box that people have put me in. Uh, I think that's the reason I've been able to create all diverse kind of work. Like, I can go from a Hukus Bukus to a Mere Makan to a Kale Ranga Paranda to a, Madano. Those are the songs that are in completely different, leagues. But at the same time, they're all forms of me. They're all forms of self-expression. They're all me in one way or the other. So I think for me, it's very important that, I kind of create as much as I can and all the honest music that I can from myself. That's more important. Honesty, I think, is the number one thing. So I think it's very important to preserve that. So I think Riyaz really humbles you because you really see where you are. And then I spend some time writing, then then practicing, then recording, and then there's a lot of more new music happening. Some collaborations on the way, some interesting collabs. I love to work with all kinds of artists. Love to work with different genres of musicians, with exploring a lot of new things. So yeah, all of that. And then my daughter takes up a lot of time. I figure out all of this in the middle of raising a toddler, which is a lot. But yeah.
Love it.
And then
you're in the library of cartoons as well,
yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine like I'm writing something very intense, and then if I'm trying to give her food, then I have to sit through Peppa Pig. But that's what it is,
Mom.
Motherhood is like a whole bundle of many, 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 many things that come with it. So
yeah,
it's an emotional roller coaster as well. Yeah.
Love it. The last question of the session. I ask this to almost every guest. That is, from your decades of playing and seeing the umbrella term wise art in a nutshell, can I share 3 practical learnings which will apply to creative people? And by creative people, I mean the painters, artists, poets, whatever they are, or in whatever level they are, that will apply to them so they can get an insight, basically.
I guess number one would be to really protect your artist. We all have, I think we're all born artists. It's just that some people are able to pursue it, and some people are able to find that artist.
Exactly.
Some people are able to secure that artist. Some people, their artist is somehow finds its outlet, and therefore you grow and nurture it more. Now, if you found your artist, because I think some people, they spend their whole lives, they never find it. But if you do, protect. Very, very important, because protecting and nourishing. Number one, because it's such a lonely journey, I think, of artists. No matter what, you feel like it'll always feel like a climb. No matter how much you keep going, you feel like a climb. Because today, when I started, everything that I wanted to achieve, everything that I thought that will make me happy, that everything that I felt like, I've ticked almost all boxes, and I ticked them very quickly. But after ticking them, I was like, okay, now this doesn't do it for me still. I want more,
Exactly.
And that will always be there. And when that happens, you need to be ready to know that it'll only happen if that internal reserve is growing, which means that you are really cultivating your artist to do more. If you want more, you have to do more, right? That's what it is. So it's always going to be a climb. So protect that artist. nurture it by practice, by regular devotion to the art, and also as much as you can better your art craft, own it, learn, and be open to learning from so many people, and surround yourself with the right energies from the beginning. It's so important. I've learned this through also with time. Everybody who works with you doesn't want good for you, even though they may work for you. Oh, well, be a little wise. You may not. You might find that people will work with you for a while and not work with you, but it's always going to be just your journey, and you don't know who's going to stick around for how long. And while you can want to surround yourself with the right people, it's very important to identify energies that are not right for you, and then keep the distance from it, instead of always feeling like today. But I feel like that problem is lesser, because I think I see young people, they're so self-assured and they know so much about what they want. They're able to but you should never get jaded and over jaded by greatness, because greatness is in everyone. You have your own level of greatness that you don't even know is bigger than anything else that you've discovered. So getting jaded by greatness and then thinking that, oh, this is it, there's something better always waiting. So always protect and nurture this one. More importantly, I guess third, and which I've realized, work is work and your life is not your work. I guess that's important to know too. You are not completely defined. Your self-worth should not entirely come only from your work. It's important that life, from the number of years you have on planet Earth, there's a finite amount of time, and that defines your self-worth is not just the work that you put out in the world. So it's very important that you nurture a personal life. It's important you don't get so overdrawn into things that you neglect the relationships that are important in your life. I've always protected the most important relationships in my life. I've always tried to keep a secure head. That really keeps me going, because sometimes it can get really, 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 really tough. Good times are great for everybody. Bad times come for everyone. But when bad times come, it's so important that you know that you are not your work.
Right.
It's important. It's got its place in the world. It's got a place in people's heart, for your fans, whose your art heals people. It helps people. It gives people something important to hold on to. That's great itself. Like entirely attaching your self-worth to just your work is also a climb that you will never really achieve. You'll always try to look over your shoulder and say, "Oh, abhi bhi nahi hua, abhi bhi nahi hua, abhi bhi nahi hua."
और चाहिए,
It's like a whatever process. So keep a good personal this one. It'll really keep you going. It'll fill your well. As an artist, it's important to fill the well. I read somewhere, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So the well gets filled by not just things that are art. It also gets filled by personal contentment, working on yourself. Then you don't put so much pressure on your art to just define who you are and your life. And then, I think these 3-4 things I would say. I hope it makes sense.
It made sense. Sense. I love it. It's been a wonderful time talking to you. For the audience, I'm saying she doesn't need an introduction already, because she doesn't need it. I'll list down all of her work, all of her social media handles and links in the description. You should check her out. Disturb her, tell her how you love her songs. I hope she won't react. And,
I would love to react. I always like love and tea.
Yeah. And once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. It's once again, as I said at the beginning, it's just after so long we're having this conversation. We were planning this for months, I guess, 3-4 months.
I hope it was worth it. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you, Soparna.
Pleasure is all mine. You've been giving some good insights. That was some
Yeah.
really good insights
Thank
I
you.
need to walk upon. Once again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank-
Aabha Hanjura.
Thank you for having me. Thanks a bunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you
All
so
the
much.
best.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.